Happy Victory Friday, Jets fans. Can you believe it? We called the season over last week, and the Jets season hanging by a thread. On Halloween, the scariest costume ever this year has been a Jets uniform. But finally, they end the losing streak on Halloween in the swamps. It was ugly. It wasn't pretty, but a win is a win is a win is a win. And the Jets get the victory 21-13 over the previously 6-2 Texans. What a win. And we'll break it all down. And have the Jets saved their season, or is just a little blip on the radar? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more as we break down a victory and a happy Victory Friday edition of the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Jets Fight Club. The sickest New York Jets podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back to the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. I'm your host, Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Radio. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, on X, on Instagram, and subscribe to my YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube, the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. Smash that thumbs up. Give us a like below. 2 thumbs up. Ebert and Roper. Comment below. And we are live on YouTube. If you're with us on YouTube, comment there as well. I know a lot of people enjoyed the eulogy I had for the Jets and rant last week on YouTube, our most viewed episode, and rightfully so, because there was a lot that I had to get off my chest in what was the worst loss of the Jets season to the putrid New England Patriots. And they had to win. It was all about winning a football game. It was all about ending this miserable losing streak. And the Jets did that on Halloween. And listen, at times it looked like they didn't want to do it. Self-inflicted wounds, dumb penalties, same old Jets, on a field goal, a penalty that I've never even seen before, where the defensive player went up the middle and I think he kicked the snapper or he intruded with the snapper. 15-yard penalty. It was like 4th and 21, automatic first down. And maybe the Jets had a plan that they would almost give up a touchdown, have a wide open receiver, not get it on third, and then they missed the field goal. And then 3 points were off the board. So a 14-10 game that was going to be 14-13 or potentially 17-14 Texans stayed at 14-10. And then finally, Davante Adams, who left the game after an incredible 4th and 1 completion, leaves the game. Concussion, check for that. Didn't have a concussion, I guess. Comes back in. And then a 37-yard touchdown grab. And have I ever seen Aaron Rodgers more excited to throw a touchdown than that? He finally got one to his old friend, and boy, was he hyped. I wonder why. And after the game, Davante Adams says so that was a good one by 12. 8 old habits. Well, listen, I hope those old habits become new and the Jets are back to life, because that's the kind of offense at times that we expect to see. But it wasn't in the first half. It was all in the second half of this football game. The Jets were unwatchable. This game was almost unwatchable in the first half. And I don't know what happened at halftime, but they came to life. And you know why? Because it wasn't the New York Jets out there. It was the New York Garrett Wilsons out there. The New York Air Jordans out there. I mean, look at this picture. Good job by our buddy Jason Klein, on Twitter. Air Garrett. I mean, literally, it's almost the same symbol. If you're watching in real time, you thought of, that's like the Jordan logo. That catch, to catch it with one hand, OBJ part 2. We might have to get the OBJ picture too and flash them side by side, but that was unbelievable by Garrett Wilson, and that was the game. I mean, he doesn't make that catch, the Jets probably don't win this game. And that second shin getting in, remember, that was like 3rd and 20 or something. Jets would have had to kick a field goal. I mean, this is a different game. And OBJ's catch was crazy. It was 10 years ago. Same stadium, same end zone, but on a different side. But that's the one you think of when you think of that. And it's really, for now, a season-saving Air Jordan catch by Garrett Wilson, who has come alive for the Jets. Remember, early on, he was struggling, and not all him. It was the chemistry with Aaron wasn't there, but by God, he is alive. That was a ridiculous 21-yard touchdown. Would have been a field goal. Would have been, potentially 7-3. Or that was the 24-yard touchdown to give the Jets a 14-10 lead. It would have been 10-10, if Riley Patterson makes a field goal. Remember, Riley Patterson, even on the Jets' touchdown, you almost can't celebrate because you're worried about the extra point. He hit one off the post and in. So every time the Jets would score, something bad usually happens. Today, it came close to that happening. And Garrett Wilson, 9 for 90. Devontae Adams, 7 for 91. 181 of Aaron Rodgers' 211 yards came to the top two big boys. Conklin did nothing. Braylon Allen did nothing. Ruckert did nothing. Mike Williams did nothing. Breece Hall as a receiver did nothing. You wouldn't have been able to guess if I gave you $1 million who the Jets' third leading receiver was on Thursday night. It was Kenny Yeboah with a 1-yard catch for 12 yards on a big 3rd and 1. I mean, Kenny Yeboah. Who would have guessed it? This team now has a pulse. They're alive. Garrett Wilson is the first player with 2 one-handed receiving touchdowns in a game since ESPN began tracking the stat in 2017. And that's why I got it confused, because he had the other one. The first one was also one-handed. And it was a great throw, but man, he went like this. The second one is obviously light years better. The first one's still one-handed. I mean, Garrett Wilson put the team on his back. 2 incredible plays. And that's a superstar stepping up. And maybe Devontae has got to take notes. Connor Long is in the chat. Connor, I figured you were in school. I would have asked you to pop on. Don't you have school? It's a Friday morning. Are you watching us while at school? Do you go to school at home? Do you not go to school? Don't kids have school these days? It's a Friday. The kids off? Is it Victory Friday? You take off from school on Victory Friday? What's going on here? But, man, Air Garrett, man. The New York Garretts, the New York Wilsons. And listen, I still don't believe the Jets are going to go on a run. But the start of it was winning a game. And let's flash the stat that Rich Cimini tweeted that might give you some hope. At least one team has reached the play, and this stuff's always voodoo, but you got to look at it and think, hey, you're saying there's a chance. At least one team has reached the playoffs after starting 3 or 6 or worse through 9 games in each of the previous 4 seasons. Last year was the Packers at 3-6. 2023, it was also the Rams at 3-6. The Jaguars in 2022 at 3-6. The Eagles 3-6 in 2021, and then Washington 2020 was 2-7. Like, can you believe it? Connor's in the chat. I have off from school, lol, for some sort of holiday, lol. Don't know what it is, but I am. All that matters is I am off. All right, I'll try and send you a link, Connor, to hop on here. But Garrett is just, he's special. And I know the beginning it was a slow start, but Devontae's got to take notes. And I think that was the 1-2 punch we've been waiting for. Now, let's also address this. The Jets were favored in this game. And Vegas, who always finds a way to be right, at the start of this game, you're thinking, what were they thinking? Because the Jets looked terrible. Not that the Texans looked great. It was 7-0 at the half. Both teams. I mean, this first half was a true Thursday night game. Like, we've seen some bad Thursday night games. This, at least for the first half, was that. And then second half, Jets, the touchdown coming out of the halftime was massive. I mean, to set the tone was massive. I mean, it was touchdown, field goal, touchdown, missed field goal, touchdown, field goal. Every drive was essentially a scoring play outside the missed field goal. And that was not just a missed field goal, it was 2 missed field goals. Because of the penalty by Watts, unnecessary roughness, and then the missed chippy 27-yarder. Every play was scoring drive. Second half was much more exciting. And I mean, once again, they could not stop the run. That's one thing concerning still about this Jets team. Their inability to stop the run. It's concerning. But you got to feel a little bit better that this team's still alive right now. Like, they're in it. They're not done yet. Season ain't over yet. Connor, I send you a link if you want to hop on your email. But the Cardinals are next for the Jets, and it's a brand new season. And could it be the secret sauce? Could it be the drink? Could it be Thomas Morstead's secret drink that saves the Jets season? There it is. Thomas Morstead. Follows me on Twitter, by the way. Had him on my old podcast with the Post last year. Great guest. Him and Aaron. Aaron's got to get that hair fixed. I mean, he looks a mess. But the two old heads. The cayenne pepper and water. There it is. I haven't tried it. I don't have cayenne pepper here. I don't think I would like it. I think it's going to taste terrible. But if it works, keep drinking it. If that's the secret sauce, man, just keep on drinking it. The Texans were banged up. They were without Nico Collins, who's done for the year. They were without Stephon Diggs, who's done for the year. This is a Texans team that's going to have to make a move. They're 6-2, but man, they look depleted. Anderson was coming in and out of that game. Another storyline of this Jets game, and it's going to get overlooked because of Garrett Wilson and everything else that happened. Will Fashanu had never taken a snap at guard before last night, not in high school or college. Joe Tippmann was telling him what to do every play. The Jets were playing 2 tackles at guard. Because of the injuries to Simpson and Hansen, they played with 4 tackles with Mitchell and Fashanu replacing them at guard. You had 2 tackles playing the guard positions. And they look good. Listen, it was one of the more productive running games on the ground for the Jets today. Brees, 15 for 74. He averaged about 5 yards a carry. And mind you, what I haven't mentioned in all this, and this game could have been a bit more of a coast and an easier win for the Jets if this doesn't happen. Malachi Corley. I hope this was I'm not saying cut the guy because I think he does add an element that you clearly saw on that play. But you've been waiting, Malachi Corley, to touch the football for so long. You've been healthy and active. They haven't got the ball to you. They finally get you the ball on an end around. I know I tweeted reverse. I believe it's actually called an end around. To me, it's basically the same thing. Reverse end around. It was an end around for a touchdown. You never touched the ball. I would have. Why drop that? That's your first touchdown. Hold that ball into the end zone till the final till it's all over, and bring it to the sideline with you. And I think if he gets the ball again, and if he does score again this season, I think he's going to do that. He is not going to let go of that football. That can't happen. And if the Jets were to lose this game, which would have sealed their season and their fate, that would be the first thing on the highlight reel. Malachi Corley just letting the ball go. And it's not like there was a defender. He just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Malachi Corley, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I don't know the words, the rest of them. But he said goodbye to the football and then didn't play again. Corley, let it go. Let it go. Malachi, just let it go. Call me Adina Brown. Jake Manziel. And that he almost let the season go. And Ulbrich said that's unacceptable, and that's what he should. Saleh probably would have said, he's just a kid. We'll let him go. Saleh would have coddled him. I'm glad Ulbrich said something. And Ulbrich hasn't been great, let's be honest, as a coach. But, good for him to finally get in the winning column. But Corley's got to be smarter than that. And they're lucky they won this game. That can't fly against future teams. It won't fly on the road against the Cardinals next Sunday. It won't fly against Miami. It won't fly against the Colts. I should say it'll fly against the Texans, but the Texans looked bad last night. And you can't have that ever happen again. And I think he'll learn, but God, when you're like, what are they reviewing? You look back, you're like, oh my God, he actually let it go. Let it go, let it go. And that's a learning point for the kid. And, this would have been another eulogy if the Jets lost that game. And Corley would have been getting ripped a new one. But luckily, the Jets came to life. Devontae Adams seals it with a touchdown. Garrett Wilson with 2 one-handed touchdowns. And the New York Garrett Wilson said, give credit to this defense as well. But, man, this team is the walking wounded. New bodies falling every freaking day. And, listen, Sauce Gardner, he's a mod. The way he's played this season, really is no right calling him Sauce. He's regressed. Usually it's a sophomore slump. It's a junior jinx. I don't know, a junior slump, like a junior. It's not a bacon cheeseburger junior. It's like a vegan junior season for Ahmad Gardner. I'm gonna start calling him Ahmad till he plays. His tackling is inept. He gets hurt like every play. You got to factor some of this conditioning, and this guy's either gassed or hurt. That's a lot of what you're doing during the week. And I'm just a little bit alarmed by Ahmad Gardner. I gotta stop calling him Sauce. Because we were talking about all pro, the chains, everything. He looks bad out there. Committing penalties, holding, pass interferences, missing tackles, guys truck sticking him. He's either got to hit the weight room, he's got to condition better, and he's got to play better. Because he is not the number one cornerback in the league, and he's nowhere close. Matthias Simon, amazing. That was a very entertaining second half. So Ahmad Gardner's got to improve. He's got to be better. And Malachi Corley needs to use this as a learning lesson because that can't happen ever again. But the Jets are 3-6. They now, listen, their schedule, and I hate to schedule watch because every game is going to be tough, but for the eternal optimist, they play the 4-4 Cardinals next week, who will either be 4-5 or 5-4. They play the Bears. And then they'll Sunday Night Football against old friend, likely Joe Flacco, as Anthony Richardson was benched. Another 500 team. Then Seattle, a 500 team after the bye on Thanksgiving. Then at 2-5 Miami, we'll see what their record is then. At 2-6 Jacksonville, we'll see what they are then. At the 3-4 Rams, we'll see what they are then. At Buffalo, 6-2 and going to win the division. And then versus Miami. So they only play one team as of now over 500 in the remaining 8 games. So you're saying there's a chance? I guess so. 7-1. At the worst, 6-2, but likely 7-1 to get in. I still don't think it's going to happen, but at least we have at least one more meaningful game to watch. We have a game left to watch that might mean something. And the 7th seed right now is the Chargers at 4-3, and then it's Colts on the outside looking in 4-4, 3-5, 3-6. So maybe when it's all said and done, 9-8 gets you in. It might just do it, but 7-1 we're looking at, which would mean beating all the teams I mentioned, but the Bills. Can they do it? You got to clean up the mistakes, the Corley mistake, the dumb penalties, the penalty on that field goal. It was still a sloppy game, and I'm not gonna, have a parade today because they won a game because it wasn't pretty, but they're alive at least. I wrote the eulogy last week. I still think the eulogy is very much in the cards, but I'm hoping they're that gift, that emoji of that guy coming out of the casket where he's there and then he goes and he's back to life. Like, can this be the Jets? Can Garrett Wilson be the casket to alive? He's alive. And a scary Halloween indeed, because that was ugly football for a lot of that game. A youngster like Garrett Wilson, who does a good job talking about ugly football, is Connor Long. And Connor, who came in the chat, let's bring him in here. Enough out of me. I've been rambling. I don't know what holidays it is. I hope you enjoyed my Indina Manziel Let It Go American Idol audition I just performed. But, the New York Garrett Wilson's Connor. Connor of Jets X Factor. Connor Long. Give him a follow.
Appreciate it.
What a game. What a win. And it wasn't pretty, but you'll take any win you could get right now if you're the New York Jets. And I'm excited that they got it. I'm excited that the season is not completely dead in the water just yet. And that's a reason for us to be thrilled right now. And what say you?
Yeah, it's Jake. First off, thanks so much for having me on. And it wasn't like I said on my post game show last night. I was on my post game show till about 2:15 in the morning last night. I probably got about 5 hours of sleep, something like that. And I was like, it wasn't the prettiest fashion. It wasn't a 3-score win, but you go out. I understand the Texans are depleted, but still, they are a talented team between C.J. Stroud, Joe Mixon, who the Jets clearly couldn't contain, Tank Dell. They still bring a lot of offensive firepower. So, fact that this was a must win because if they lost, the playoff hopes were officially done. Now they keep their season alive, and I think the biggest thing is the schedule really lightens up. You got into it. Next Sunday, they travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. It really lightens up, which is a good thing for this team. And if I had to make a prediction right now, do I think they're going to make the playoffs? No, but I think there is a chance if they're able to battle. And this team, Jake, rides on waves of momentum, and the Jets need to ride this momentum as long as they can.
Yeah, and Arizona is not going to be easy. A team that continues, and listen, I didn't even mention him. Joe Mixon was running it down their throats, and he was steamrolling defenders, some of them ending up injured in this game. And C.J. Stroud, 8 for 59.
Yes.
I mean, they gave up 180. I didn't even know who J.J. Taylor was, and he even got 3 for 23. I mean, if you're in the backfield, they could put an offensive lineman in that backfield, Connor, and they might run against this defense. 187 yards on the ground, and that's something I'll say they got to clean up, but will it ever get cleaned up? They can't. From Jordan Mason in week 1 to now J.J. Taylor in week whatever we're in, 10 right now, they just can't stop the running game. And, Ulbrich, I know he's focused on being a coach while trying to call plays. He's got to get in that room this week and be like, hey, James Conner can run it as good as anyone in the league. And not only him, you got a quarterback who runs it as good as anyone in the league in Kyler Murray. They might run for 250 if they don't clean this up.
Yeah, I mean, James Conner, he's really – but I put it in my keys to victory column for Jets X Factor this week. It was going to be, containing Joe Mixon. But Joe Mixon's one of the league's most elusive running backs, really. His ability to rip off these explosive 10-yard gains, Jake. But I think the biggest thing that continues to kill this team week in out the run defense is – I'm actually running the tape. I'm going to do a film breakdown today on my channel. Something I noticed is it's just the 3- and 4-yard gains time after time that continue to kill this team. Yes, they've had some really bad reps where they give up 15 yards on a carry, but what kills this team, this run defense, is the 4 yards after 4 yards, and those continue to add up, and then that's what ends up being really the deciding factor for a team like the Texans. But what matters is we got out of there with a win. That Malachi Corley blunder was disgusting. I mean, Jake, I said it on my pregame show. My hot take for last night's game was a Malachi Corley touchdown. And
if you betted first touchdown, his odds were like plus like 6,000 or some crazy. Yeah. If you threw $10 on that, you'd have won 600 until he decided to get rid of the ball. I thought Connor, how does he not carry that to the sideline. That's your first touchdown. You've been waiting to hold the ball.
Exactly.
Why'd you get rid of it before you got to the end zone?
Yeah, it looked very close on the. It didn't look close on the in real time. It looked like he got in the end zone, then just dropped it. But then looking back at that replay, you could see he dropped it. I mean, that's just what annoys me most, Jake, is that someone who's been urging the play, and the coaching staff's come out and said it's not college, it's not college, it's not college. Then he gets his opportunity with a guy like Alan Lazard out, and Aaron Rodgers clearly having little to none confidence in Mike Williams. And then he goes out and does that. That was his one opportunity. He gets in the end zone, the Yak King. He probably plays, 50% of the offensive snaps for the remainder of that game. Then we probably saw him 2 more snaps after that blunder. So it's that I think that hurt him tremendously, and I think it's going to hurt his reps throughout the rest of the season. But Olufashinu, you mentioned him stepping in at right guard. I thought he played okay. The offensive line, though, is literally just dropping like flies. It's insane. I mean,
it's the whole team, Connor. It's the defense too. I mean, the cornerback
exactly.
Sauce gets hurt on like every Ahmad. I keep calling him. Let me call him Ahmad till he plays like Sauce. Like the cornerbacks are Isaiah Oliver had to leave the game at one point. Mosley's been out. Like
Solomon
and he came back in and had that big sack. And
Uh-huh.
Hassan Reddick, he got his jersey dirty.
There we
Finally.
go.
He's in the box score. Me and him were both not in the box score last week, but now he's entered the box score, but half a sack. We'll give him half. He doesn't get the full, but the whole team, Connor, it is dropping like flies.
Yeah, I mean, the defense, it feels like not only just the Jets, but I mean, the Texans, I felt like every 3 seconds it was, okay, we'll be back right after this. Will Anderson down on the field. We'll be back right after this. Ahmad Gardner down on the field. So it's, there's been so many injuries. I actually thought Olu, quite frankly, Jake did a better job of Jake Hansen than Jake Hansen. I mean, I would have benched Jake Hansen for poor performance, but who else were you going to go to? Wes Schweitzer still banged up. It's like I said, it's dropping like flies, but I thought they held up overall for being depleted. I thought Tyron Smith looked okay following a really, really rough start to the season. So, hey, victory Friday, 5-game losing streak comes to an end, and you got to just build on this and look for positivity here.
Yeah, and Worst Nightmare in the chat saying winning one game doesn't save a season, especially at 3-6. Still have a while before saving a season. Anybody could beat the Texans. Well, the Texans were 6-2, and they didn't look like a 6-2 team last night, and they're banged up, obviously. But I wouldn't say anybody could beat the Texans. This is a team that's towards the top of the AFC, so I know it's a different team, but it's a win you'll take, and you do it on Halloween, you do it at home, you do it on a short week, and they needed it, and they were playing with a sense of urgency. And I'm not saying the season's saved, but at least the game against Arizona matters, because if they were to lose this and be 2-7, then we're talking about a team that has to go undefeated the rest of the season. Yes. And now you have some wiggle room, but I don't know if they're right now better than Arizona, but they could fight Arizona. They can beat Arizona. They can beat a Colts team who has quarterback drama right now with Flacco now taking over. I mean, who would have thought that on November 17th, before you're getting ready for the bye, before you're getting ready to eat your turkey, that Joe Flacco in prime time would return to MetLife Stadium? I mean, who could have guessed that's a possibility of happening? Now, who knows? Flacco could get hurt, or they could go back to Richardson, but what a weird scene it is for the Colts there, who are right there in the playoff race as well. So a lot of crazy storylines in this Jets season, and like you said, Fashanu, great job. But, they need this extra couple days, Connor. They need this mini bye because, like we keep saying, everybody's hurt. They need this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Don't have them at the facility again until Tuesday. I mean, these guys are going to be out partying in the city all weekend, I assume. But for 4 days, let these bodies get healthy and regroup, because you need everyone, especially on defense. You need everyone blocking up front to take down the Cardinals in 10 days.
Yeah, and Jake, you mentioned partying there. I mean, what is there to party about this team? Yes, it was a good win, but you're only as good as your record is, and the Jets' record right now is 3-6. So, I think this team, they need to, okay, we went out, we got to win. Like I said, ride this wave of momentum, and I think they have a really solid chance to beat Arizona, just given Arizona's one of those teams that's just young and unproven. I think Kyler Murray, though, is going to run all over us. That's going to be a nightmare, Jake. Not only maintaining James Conner, but Kyler Murray as well. The Jets have not been able to stop someone, a quarterback who can run. So that's gonna that's going to kill them. But someone who hasn't been able to stop a quarterback who runs on the defensive line last night was Michael Clemens, and he came away with 2 sacks. He was probably the most hated player on the Jets, I would say. So he came away with 2 sacks. I thought the team played really well though overall, and I think the only game I don't feel too confident right now is Buffalo away, just because it's away. If I had to make a pick, I say they either go 9-8 or 10-7. When all said and done, I think they split with Miami. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel confident in any game. Like this was an outlier, but at least they showed life, and Devontae came alive, and Garrett. I mean, Garrett is just a god, and like you said,
Yep.
I didn't even mention 8 sacks from the defense, and we've been asking for a pass rush, and that's something they got to keep up. Kyler's going to be tough to take down. Jamie Sherwood too. DJ Reed had his first in like 6 years. Hopefully, he ends up okay and is healthy next week. Quinnen Williams 1.5, Clemens 2. Solomon 1, Hassan Reddick 0.5, like 8 sacks. I mean, when have the Jets had 8 sacks in a game? I don't even know. It's been a while. Infinite chaos in the chat. O-line is still a problem. It really is, but they also got to get healthy. I think when they're healthy, it's actually a decent O-line, but they haven't had that group in a cohesive unit for a while. Listen, Morgan Moses got hurt. Simpson got hurt. Like, they just cannot stay on the field. He also says, been a Roger fan since his time in Green Bay. Glad to see him grab a win. I was worried for a minute. I think we all were. And, I've said, a lot of people said it. He's lost a step. He clearly isn't the same. Even, early in this game, he was terrible. I forget what his halftime line was, but he only had like 30 yards passing or something at the half and came to life. And we need a complete performance against Arizona and moving forward. It can't be come alive in the second half or, have cayenne pepper and water at halftime, and that'll carry the Jets like it's Space Jam. And it is funny that the secret sauce, Space Jam, cayenne pepper, water, Morstead, the play of the game in the first half was the Morstead punt to bounce to the 1 yard line, 2 yard line. And then in the second half, Monstar Garrett Wilson. I mean, he had the arm extension like he was a Monstar. This was a Space Jam Halloween win. I'm sure there were people in the crowd dressed as, the Bugs Bunny, whatever, the Lady Bunny. That outfit I know is popular in Halloween. This was a Space Jam spooky kind of Jets win that took 2 one-handed catches, two missed field goals by Fairbairn. Think about that. If he makes both those field goals, that's 6 extra points. If Garrett on 3rd and 1,000,000 doesn't get that shin in, Lola Bunny, Armand said in the chat. That's the costume, Lola Bunny.
Oh.
If Garrett doesn't get, you might be too young. You might not know about Space Jam. Have you seen Space Jam?
Yes, okay. I have.
Thank God. The shin, if that shin doesn't get in, and Fairbairn makes 1 or 2 of the field goals, the season's over. So, Connor, it takes a lot of things to come together for this team to win, and they got to clean up their act because those things, those magical things, and those misses from the other team are not going to happen moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. But Jake, the Jets have been on the wrong side of that so many times just this season. I mean, I say it all the time. There's no reason the Jets should not be an 8-win team right now already. Really. I mean, every game except the 49ers game.
At least 6. 8 might be generous, but at least 6.
6 to 8, I will say that, because I mean, if you look at their losses, the Denver one was a joke. Minnesota, they could have easily won that game. Buffalo, that should have been a win. And then who'd they
I look at New England, Buffalo, and Denver as the 3 ones if they miss the playoffs.
Yes. The Steelers game, they shouldn't have won either. I will say this though, if you can't beat those teams in the regular season and then you're pointing to it as a fact, if we just won this game, we would have made the playoffs. Still, even if you barely sneak past this team, you can't win that game. You're not going to do much in the playoffs, really, if you're barely able to sneak past the team like that and just make it in. I think what kills the Jets' playoff odds right now is the fact they don't have the tiebreaker against a team like Pittsburgh and Denver, and I think that's why fans are getting so upset. But, I mean, I think this might be one of the things where it's just too little too late. You start off 2-6, which is really hard to come back from, and then you go on a little run, but it's you just dug yourself into too deep of a hole, and it's 17 games a season.
I still got to see the complete football for me. Like if they come out against Arizona out of this mini bye and play more complete football, more discipline, maybe they've turned a corner. But this was a sloppy win that took some magic to happen. Like you said, usually some of that magic doesn't happen for the Jets. It happens for the other team. But I got to see a more complete game. I got to see them come out healthy, get guys back for me to believe they're going to go on some historic Aaron Rodgers run. That infinite chaos says Aaron can make magic happen. As a Packer fan, I've witnessed it. I'm rooting for y'all. So he's done it before. We've seen him have magical Decembers. He's going to have a magical now. Today we enter Happy November, November 1st, a magical November and a magical December. Matthew Frank says, does Arizona play this weekend? Or they go coming off of a bye? They will play Chicago Bears in Arizona. So tough game for them. We'll see if they go to 5-4 or 4-5. But as of now, as we look at the standings, the only team over 500 they play the rest of the way is the Bills, which is going to be pretty much a loss in Buffalo. Armand said, I wore my Grimace costume from halftime and the second half last night. I believe the power of Grimace helped the Jets in the second half. Listen, they need any kind of costume, anything they could get, because coming into that game, their jerseys themselves, they were the spooky, they were the costume. They wore their own jerseys, and that was the costume. And you were worried that wearing those black jerseys was the start of the Jets' funeral, and we thought that was last week. I did a pod here calling it the eulogy and saying it was the funeral. Well, hopefully they're coming back to life. Matthew says, agreed, Connor, too little, too late. It's going to be too little, too late. But as fans, as people who do content about this team, we can only hope, Connor, that they keep winning and keep making these games relevant. Because, if they do lose 2 more, it's pretty much official. If they lose 1 more, they got to go undefeated. So these scenarios, while they sound ridiculous, we're just laying out the possibilities of seeing football into January. God forbid in mid-January we watch a football game for once. It's been 14 freaking years. But what do you think going forward? What do you think happens against Arizona? Do you think the Jets keep the magic alive, or do you think they're cooked?
No, they'll beat Arizona. I really do. I think they'll beat Arizona. If they're able to, the Jets still, I think it was underplayed just given all the circumstances. The Jets still had, let me get the exact number. It wasn't pretty, though. They did have a lot of penalty yards. I believe it was 80 penalty yards. Let me just double check that. Let's see, 83 penalty yards.
Yeah, nine penalties for 80. 9 penalties is a lot. Like that.
Yeah,
they get close. They get double digits or close to it every week. That number, Connor, needs to get down to like really 0, but at least like 5, maybe.
Yeah. And if they want to take on a team like Arizona, yes, they're young and unproven, but they still bring. I think they bring a lot of talent. Kyler Murray is a pretty underrated quarterback. His ability to evade pressure, get out of the pocket, make plays, improvise. Marvin Harrison Jr. If he's able to go next Sunday, he's a very talented receiver. If they're able to cut down on the penalties and really just make it a close game, because these penalties seem to kill them. If they're able to get that penalty down to hopefully 4 for 30, something like that, that would even be ideal. 4 for 30. And I think it's playing complementary football, Jake, if they want to get it done. I know you spoke about it earlier. There's never been, I guess you could point maybe to last night's game, but Jets still only scored 21. The offense only scored 21 points. The defense played well, though. There hasn't been many games this season where it's like, okay, the offense played well and the defense played well. Team win. Maybe other than, a bit of last night and then the week 3 game over the Patriots. I think we're still waiting for that game where it's okay. Both of these units are clicking on all cylinders, and this is what we've been waiting for all year. We saw a glimmer of that last night, but it always seems that when the offense goes out, they show out. They score 28 points, the defense allows 30 or something crazy like that, and the defense just looks like crap, or vice versa. So I think finding that complementary football is so key, and hitting the field goals, hitting the extra points. Riley Patterson had me scared there last night on the first extra point. I was, when it hit the post, I was like, oh my God, it's Greg Zuerlein 2.0. And then no, it didn't. So like I said, just playing complementary football and keeping the penalties down, the Jets should have no problem.
Riley Patterson, round of applause, 3 for 3 on extra points. Can you believe it? Like, you got to celebrate the little things. And yeah, I agree. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like a great touchdown followed by misery. And outside of that, and I guess the penalty on the field goal, I guess the special teams was decent. Morstead with the big punt down to the 2. Like, this was a big field position game, especially in the first half of turning field position over.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely wasn't the Jets' worst special teams game. And I'd like to see them get better on third down. 5 for 12. I'd like to see better play calling on third down. They put themselves in a couple of third and longs, which killed them. Although one of them turned into the Air Garrett touchdown catch. They, play calling was a little bit better. I want to see more of those end arounds. Look, it worked with Corley, and I know he made the boneheaded mistake, but try that again, and I would hope he learns his lesson now. I agree with him not touching the ball again that game. I don't think it's a cut-it player. I mean, he learns from that. I think he is explosive. I want to see that play again next week, and I've been clamoring for it. Like it could be a disaster like that was where they are tackled behind the line of scrimmage. But if you trust the player's speed and ability, like a lot of times those plays end up in major yards. Look at the what's his name? The chief. Hardman, McCole Hardman.
Yes.
Look at Hardman, how many times he's had success doing that in his career. Look at Xavier Worthy now with the Chiefs with the end arounds, how much success he has. It could be a successful play. You draw it up once a game or, when they least expect it. I hope he learns his lesson, and I hope the Jets turn this season around. That's Connor Long. Connor, Jets X Factor, catch him there. Connor _Long 15 on Twitter. Connor, good to see you in the chat. I don't know what holiday is it?
I think it's called Diwali or something like that. I don't know.
Diwali. I didn't know you guys get off school for that.
Yeah, I believe that's what it's called after doing some research, but I'm off and it's a Victory Friday. That's all that matters here, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. I figured it was just a post-Halloween like overdose of candy last night. Post-Halloween off. Connor, we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy your mini bye week. Take care.
Appreciate you, man.
That's Connor Long. Matthew Frank says, good show, guys. Thought we were seeing more Rucker. Yeah, that's the one weird thing from this game, tight end usage. I mean, Conklin had 1 catch for -3 yards. You got 2 pretty good tight ends. Like, I want to see Todd Downing get these guys more involved. I love Tyler Conklin, and they need to be throwing to him every drive. Like, he's too big of a target to not get him the ball, and he could truck stick guys. And, yeah, Rucker has the 1 catch for 4 yards. At the very least, they should be getting 5 or 6 receptions every week out of their tight ends. And to get 2 for 1 yard, 2 receptions for 1 yard, that can't happen. And against Arizona, a team that dominates with their tight end and McBride, I want to see that 1-2 punch ball out. I want to see those 2 guys ball. Aaron Rodgers has made a career for tight end. Mercedes Lewis, Jimmy Graham, endless tight ends that he has found them, and we haven't seen it have these Jets tight ends. I know Conklin has had a couple good games, but overall, tight end has been a major disappointment for this team. I mean, the offense has been a disappointment as a whole, but they got to get more production out of the tight end, and I think that's going to make the offense better. They could have success down the middle of the field, a tight end screen here and there. Let's see it. We need to see Downing have this offense more balanced. Like, yeah, it worked last night with Garrett, with Devontae, like with those 2, but to have 30 yards, 31 yards from all your other receivers combined, that's not going to work against teams that are less depleted. That's not going to work against Arizona. It's not going to work against the Colts. Got to spread the love more. Got to get more guys involved, or you're not going to get out of this 3-6 hole. But for now, the Jets live to see another day as we enter the month of November. It's not officially over. And if they beat Arizona, they get to 4-6, then more belief will come. But this was not the most encouraging win, but it was a win. And that's all you can do is be happy that they won a game. And it's a Friday. It's a weekend. I'm going to be in New York for the afternoon tomorrow, which will be fun to be back in my city for a few hours. So looking forward to that. Jared Cook, another one. That's a good one. Jermichael Finley, right? A couple of good ones. Yeah, I mean, he made a career out of tight ends, and now he's hurting Conklin. I mean, Conklin's not going to get any more years if he's having the year he has. And, Rucker, we always talk about he'd have more of a role. Why didn't they get another tight end? Well, you got Jeremy Rucker. Well, let's see him. Let's see him outside of blocking. Let's see more than 1 catch for 4 yards. Come on. What is Hackett's responsibility? I don't know what Hackett's role is. Keep him as far away from the field as possible, though. Have him get his paycheck, feed his family, but do it from the press box or do it from the boxes up there where they sit. I'm sure he's just an offensive assistant, and I'm sure he helps in what play calls work. Like, let's try this on this series, and he has some say, but in the end, Downing calls the plays, and I think the offense is better for it, but they haven't been light years better. Like, it hasn't made the ultimate difference, but I think it was a move that had to be made. And more urgency too. I think a few times they went hurry up, very few. But Aaron Rodgers made a career out of fooling defenses, and and it's not just fooling the defense if they got 12 men on the field. It's about having a defense not prepared and gassed, and completion. Boom, let's get back to the line. Gotta see more of that moving forward. And I hope this wakes them up. And against Arizona, we see a team that hurries to the line. I don't care that he's 40 years old. Like, they have got to show some more urgency, and not just late in the game, but like first half. Can we see a no huddle? Like, can that be drawn up of, hey, let's get to the line? Like, it shouldn't be the most difficult thing to do. Hurry up offenses. We see it all around the league, and the Jets seem to be so far behind. And I've said this: the the cat in the hat playbook versus the Moby Dick and J.K. Rowling playbooks that are around the league that we see, like the Rams and their movements on offense. Can we see a hurry up? Can we see some urgency? Because I think that could be a difference in this season if the Jets want to revitalize their season and come back to life. It's going to take more than taking 35 seconds every time. Like, that also plays a factor. At some point, you run out of time because you took so damn long on every play. I'd like to see some 6-play, 70-yard drives that take 3 minutes up because you hurried up and you fooled the defense, or you caught a cornerback off guard, or you do have 12 men on the field. That doesn't happen with this team, and Rodgers made a career of that. So let's use what's made Rodgers so good. Can we try that, please? Hackett just coached Rodgers, similarities thing. Yeah, Hackett is his best buddy, but keep his best buddy upstairs. Took 3 years to start perfecting the hurry up in Green Bay. Well, Jets got to use this, mini bye week and perfect the hurry up, because I think that will make a difference in this season. You heard it here first. If the Jets season turns around, it's because they hurry up. Please show some urgency, because if you want us to believe that your season's alive, which it technically is, you got to show us some life offensively and show us some speed, show us some heart, get to the line. And, at the very least, try to get them to jump as well. Like, all right, let's get to the line. Boom, jump. It seems, I don't think they've had one time a defender, maybe once this season, a defender has jumped early. So that's got to be something that's worked on. And maybe with the change of play callers and all the dysfunction and changing of head coach and everything that's gone on, it's got to happen this week. Jets Cardinals, I'll agree with Connor. I think the Jets come out of this bye, they get a little bit healthier, and they come out and beat the Cardinals and save their season in Arizona. Be smart over the weekend. They're going to party. I know Connor was saying they don't party. Listen, I know these guys go out. I know people that go out with these guys. Like, these guys will be out partying in New York this weekend. They will be at the club this weekend. That's the era. These guys don't think about, hey, we're 3-6. They say we won a game and we're millionaires, and that's their right. Partying is fun. You can't say, like, stay in the house, but just be safe, be smart this weekend. You got extra time here. Just be smart about it. You can party. You're adults, but come ready to play next week and keep the good mojo going. Huge part of his game that's been missing. The hard cat is a different story. Yeah, it's completely been missing. It hasn't happened once. So that's something they got to address this week if they want to keep this run going. But it's one win. The losing streak is over. The Jets are alive. The Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. Smash that thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching now or you're watching this back. Give us a comment below. Do you think the Jets saved their season? Let us know in the comments. Comment right now below. Did they save their season, or is this season still cooked? Let us know in the comments. Tweet me at Jake Brown Radio, TikTok Jake Brown Radio, Instagram Jake Brown Radio. We are at SickPod Jets on Twitter. Make sure you give us a follow. Appreciate it. We'll be back next week after the Cardinals game, and let the election and everything go by, and maybe we'll react to the election. No, we're not going to do politics on here, but I just need these commercials to end. It's out of control, the commercials. My God, every freaking commercial. Harris, Trump, Harris, Trump, Harris, Trump. I'm like, stop it. This random senator, politics. I'm like, I can't. There's too much. It's an overdose. So I just need the election to go by and end at this point, so we don't have to get the stupid commercials anymore. I'm trying to watch a football game, and I have to like to mute the commercials because it's out of control. Anyways, glad to be reacting to a win after the eulogy last week, and appreciate you all for joining us on the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. I'm Jake Brown. We'll talk to you after the Cardinals game, and let's go Jets. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Jets Fight Club on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.